All right.
Okay, so here we are with Venture Forth, and the developer of Venture Forth, designer, developer, and programmer, Jeremy Ingham.
How's it going?
Bad. So tell us a little bit about Venture Forth.
So, Venture Forth, I've been working on it for a couple years now, and it's kind of been a passion of mine. I've always loved exploration and video games, and this is my creation.
Awesome. Now tell us a little bit about yourself. I kind of skipped that part.
Yeah, sure.
Learn about Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, I've always had a passion for video games, but it was really in college that I learned how to program and really started to pursue game development. And so after graduating from UCLA, I decided to go into game development full-time, and here we are with Venture Forth.
Now, is this right? You developed this engine from scratch?
Yes, I did. So the whole game is created in C++ using OpenGL for graphics and Fmod for sound, and pretty much everything is built from the ground up.
Now, when did you get the concept that inspired you to
Yeah, so like I said, I've always loved exploration. But it was actually, so a couple years ago, I had the privilege of visiting Australia. And one of the really cool places that I got to go to in Australia was this cave system called Jenolan Caves, which is actually like one of the largest cave systems in the world. And after touring Jenolan Caves, I was inspired to make my own underworld cave exploration game. And thus was born Venture Forth.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like looking at. First of all, I remember seeing it from its earlier days, and it's come a long way graphically. It looks very slick. So, explain a little bit what's going on in this particular scene. Where is the player at this point?
So, right now, the player is in one of the areas called the Steps, and so basically this kind of architectural part of the cave, it consists of these really tall ledges that you pretty much only have one direction that you can go down, which is down. And so you make these large leaps down these cliffs, and then you're basically kind of trapped at the bottom until you figure out a way to make your way back up through another route or secret passage or gaining abilities that allow you to actually climb those steps again. So, and as you can see here, there's a little creature who doesn't have any weapons, but he will lunge at you and try to attack you that way. Yeah, he gets angry.
So, this very cool soundtrack that we hear playing. Who is it that did this, and who is it you're working with?
So for sound, for music, I'm working with Peter Brown, who I've been working with for a little while now. He's basically been with me since the beginning of the project, and he is a fantastic composer. I love what he does. He's definitely really good at setting the mood with his interesting soundtracks. But yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and just to spill it, we worked with him at Indie Voyage on one other project, and that was BSM, with our mutual friend Arthur.
Who's a very cool guy.
Yeah, Arthur is great. If you haven't bought Real Assembly, run out and buy it. It's excellent.
I can vouch for it.
But yeah, Peter's a fantastic composer. And
for sure.
I love looking at him a few times, and towards that end, like you and I work together, and so do you and your entire team.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your team. Who's the artist that's going to be doing some of the modeling?
So I just recently started working with an artist who's called Alex Roudet, And I love the stuff that he's doing. He's come up with some really interesting concepts that I think really fit the style of the game. And I've just been working with him for a couple months now, and so we're just starting to get into things. But he's already created some really interesting equipment and creatures, and I'm really excited to be adding those into the game now.
Yeah, and in the earlier parts of the game, you had owl things, and you had a dragon.
Yeah.
So now we're introducing even more creatures.
Yeah, we're going to be introducing quite a few number of creatures. Like the little owl creature here he's kind of a placeholder. I've personally grown quite fond of him. I find him to be quite cute, yet sinister and funny all at the same time.
Now, you've mentioned these little messages that appear on occasion at the top screen. Where did those come from?
So I actually got inspiration to do those from a game called NetHack, which is a turn-based roguelike dungeon crawler, and basically every time you move, there's a chance of spawning like these random messages that kind of set the tone for the environment that you're in. And so, like, you know, every so often a little message would come up that it's like you hear faint screaming in the distance. And I thought that was pretty cool, so I added that to this game here. And I think that it's pretty cool. Like, it just... something so simple as, like, sending those little messages can do a lot to help set the tone. And beyond that, now that I'm working with a sound designer for a lot of those, I'm actually going to, like, be accompanying, like, sound effects that actually go with them. So you'll actually be able to hear distant laughter and that sort of thing, and it'll kind of give it that eerie tone that makes it kind of seem like you're going insane.
Very cool. And who's the sound designer that you're...
Yeah, so I just started working with a guy named Juan Delgado, who I'm also very excited to work with. And he's in charge of sound design and sound effects and basically helping set that mood of everything.
As you can see, as we are walking through here, we go through another named area. Now, this game is procedurally generated, but for these named locations, is that's correct?
Yeah, so procedural generation can be a tricky beast, because with procedural generation, I mean, you can create infinite content, but the problem is, can you create infinite interesting content? And so with this game, I've kind of done a combination of procedural generation and handcrafted areas. And so basically I'm creating what I call these landmark areas, which are like small, self-contained, you can kind of almost think of them as like their own little levels. And so when you start a new game, how it'll create the world for you is from this basically large library of areas. It'll select a subset of those and then insert them into the world and procedurally connect them and generate some tunnels and things to go along with it.
And this is one of the interesting areas, the Abyss, correct?
Yeah, I like the Abyss.
Yeah, it is, there's a lot going on here. There's not much you can do at first, but then you start exploring a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up more, which is one of the main draws of the game that I like so much.
Yeah,
there is
so,
that exploration,
yeah,
even in places you've been.
A lot of the game is about exploring and basically enhancing your methods of exploration throughout the game as you play. And so, you know, one of the ways that you can explore further into the cave is obviously by being able to jump to farther ledges and drop farther distances and like fly over to places. And so there's this like physical movement progression that goes throughout the game, as well as some other types of progression that help you explore in other ways as well.
Now, we were talking over. I noticed they picked up one of the weapons that you had just put in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe that a bit, the sword?
Yeah, so the Infernal Blade is actually one of the items that Alex concepted and modeled up, and so I've since incorporated that into the game. And so basically how the Infernal Blade works is it's a flaming sword, and it has a fiery aura where any creature that's near you will burst into flames and slowly take burning damage. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, as you can see, the time thing right there. It's I love this weapon, and it really opens up some of the areas that I don't know if we want to give them away right here, but areas of dark that would otherwise be dark. This helps.
Yeah, it can help. In general, since it's like an area of effect aura, it can really help in attacking creatures that can be difficult to know the exact location of, because it can just cover large areas. And
describe this one.
So this is the Sword of Tombs, and basically this blade has the ability to turn things to stone. And so it's very slow attacking, as you can see. But if you land a hit on something, it'll turn them to stone and freeze them in place for a couple seconds. And so you can almost get enemies locked up. And it doesn't do a whole lot of damage by itself, but you can pair it with other items to basically lock a character up and then deal damage with other items and take creatures out. So it can be a pretty good way of dispatching enemies.
It kind of has this ancient yet futuristic look to it. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of so it's another concept that Alex came up with, and I personally really like it. It's got kind of like these magical runes in it, and they glow and give it a very mystical feeling.
Now, talk about how you use... Actually, I'll let you describe this bow.
Actually, yeah. This bow is kind of interesting. It's it doesn't have its own special concept. So the model is just the standard bow that I've been using. But as you can see, it basically kind of acts as a machine gun. And it's it's a pretty simple idea for a bow, but oh man, I have so much fun using it. You just walk up to enemies and blast them in the face, and it's so satisfying.
It's satisfying just to watch.
Yeah, as you can see, it goes through arrows pretty quickly. So yeah, if you want to use it for very long, you kind of have to save up your arrows. Or harvest them back after you've used them. Because actually when you attack creatures with arrows, they will collect them like into their inventory. And so after you finally kill an enemy, you can get back most of the arrows that you fired at it.
Oh, and here, this is a great part of the game. It's how you explore areas that you don't necessarily know to explore.
Yeah, so one of the mechanics in the game are like these illusory walls. And so basically every so often you'll find these walls that are like a little bit ethereal, and you can get an item that allows you to basically banish these illusions and open up new parts of the game.
And there's a cost to do that, right?
A little bit. Basically, it drains a little bit of your life. Yeah, so you can't just be flashing it everywhere, otherwise you'll eat away at your life. But it's just like another type of exploration that you keep your eye open for.
So now I wanted to have you talk about real quick your system of switching back and forth between weapon sets.
Yeah, so I have what I call loadouts. So a lot of games, very popular Minecraft, have like numbered like 0 through 9 at the bottom. And so this is similar to that, but like with Minecraft, you're basically selecting one item to use. Whereas with this, you select entire loadouts. So you select your left hand, your right hand, whatever armor, helmet you're wearing, that sort of thing. And basically, So you create loadouts, like, you can have your ranged loadout that has high DPS but not very much armor, and then you also have your melee loadout, which has a lot of armor and maybe not as much speed.
And as our character perishes here, so should our little talk here. So that ends our first discussion about Venture Forth, and we'll be back again and again to talk about more new features as you add them.
Awesome.
Very cool. So it's good talking with you, Jeremy.
Good talking with you too, Rob.
Catch you next time.
Awesome.